Okay, musicians, let's learn what modes are. A mode, put very simply, is just a scale. But in the way that we usually use it in Western music theory, what we're actually describing are rotations of the major scale. Here's what I mean by that. Let's say we start with the C major scale. No sharps, no flats, all the white keys on the piano. I'm going to play from C up to C. That's a C major scale, but could also be referred to as the C Ionian mode. So it has a modal name. Now, if I take that exact same collection of pitches, no sharps, no flats, but instead of starting on C and ending on C, I start on D and end on D, I've now changed the starting and ending note of the scale, or changed that scale's tonic note or home note, but I haven't changed the collection of pitches, okay? So that's what we call the D Dorian mode. The Dorian mode starting and ending on D, all natural notes. If I keep going, I could go from E to E. We would call that the E Phrygian mode. F Lydian, could keep going to G Mixolydian, I can keep going to A Aeolian, and B Locrian. So those are 7 modes that we can create starting with just the major scale. Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, Aeolian, and Locrian. Handy mnemonic device for remembering those. I don't particularly like modes a lot. Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, Aeolian, Locrian. You can then take that structure and put it in any key. So I just did it in the key of C major, but you could start with any other diatonic collection. So you could start with any other major scale. So we have 12 possible major scales. You could create each of these 7 modes within each of those major scales. Now, important point here. You may have heard people describe modes in the past as, well, you start with the major scale and then you flat this note or sharp that note. That is another very legitimate way of understanding modes, and we're going to talk about that in a future video. The method that I've described is known as the relative method. These scales are all relative to one another, and relative scales are defined as scales that share the same group of pitches. So I stayed with the same just natural notes, same group of pitches, but each have a different tonic. So each mode I described had a different starting and ending note, and they all shared the same group of pitches. You could instead build modes by starting with the same note and ending with the same note and changing the pitches inside the mode to create new modes. Those would be known as parallel modes. Parallel modes have the same starting and ending note, but different collections of pitches. Stay tuned for that in the next video.